Welcome to the Beauty in Burnt Toast, the podcast where we celebrate the crispy, chaotic, unexpectedly beautiful parts of life. I'm Jade.
And I'm Jamie. We're two women doing our best to live with purpose, laugh through the mess, and talk about the stuff that no one puts on Instagram.
Here you'll find real stories, unfiltered conversations, and reminders that perfection is overrated, but showing up, that matters.
And whether you're building a business, raising humans, chasing healing, or just trying to remember what day it is, you belong here.
So pour the coffee, reheat the toast, and let's get into it. This is the Beauty in Burnt Toast.
Welcome again to a new episode of the Beauty in Burnt Toast. I am the singular host today. I'm Jamie Reeves. Thanks so much for joining us. And today I am talking with Doug Bachuss. Both sides of the bench is the topic. Doug, so listen, not only are you an adoptive parent, but you have also been, and kind of still are, an adoption attorney. So Doug's living out both the legal side and the lived side of adoption. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Give us a little background of Doug Bachuss and what you do.
Okay. Well, currently I have joined a title insurance company involved in working in the real estate title, insuring real estate transactions. As you alluded to, I still am involved a little bit in adoption ministry, adoption support. Haven't been involved in adoption practice for a number of years, total almost 28 years, and working in and around adoptions. I get consulted with still from time to time other attorneys with have questions in the process, and also continually looking for folks who want to adopt and who'd be interested in fostering. So sort of have the day job and the rest of the day job, and real estate most of the time, but we'll never fully walk away or not be involved in adoptions before it's all said and done. As I mentioned, adoptive parent. My wife and I, we adopted our two oldest children. My wife's adopted. So of our family of five, three have been through the adoption process.
Right.
So me and my youngest, we missed out on that opportunity. But fortunate to have three children, blessed to have three children. Oldest Ty, he's 20. He was adopted, an agency adoption.
Okay.
My daughter, Jenna Lee, is 18. That was pretty much a private placement adoption. And then Proof God has a sense of humor. I have Joshua, who's 17.
Yes.
He came
Surprise!
along naturally. That's right.
Which is crazy. It seems to be a going trend. We interviewed last week with myself, another active foster parent, and a parent who had adopted through private adoption. And she had two private adoptions because of failed IVF therapy, and then became pregnant during the last adoption. So that's interesting that happens more often than not.
Yeah, it does.
You mentioned that you probably would never be outside of the adoption world, maybe not as hands-on as you have been. You have a servant's heart, and it definitely shows when it comes to adoption. But what kind of prompted you to get into that?
When I first started, became a practicing attorney here in Decatur in North Alabama, at the time, you had basically two routes to go. You could become involved in criminal defense, or you could become in probate work. And the firm that I joined, the attorney I joined, was involved more in the probate side of things. And so I joined that office and took on probate practice. Adoptions were assigned to me. I was appointed into adoptions, and really quickly found out how much adoption practice there is. Folks with questions, agency side and private placements, and then involved with DHR foster parents adopting, and got exposed to adoption that way. As I mentioned, my wife was adopted when we started dating. she told me she, at some point in time, knew she wanted to adopt, to give back for the blessing that she had received. So I wasn't going to become Jenny's husband unless I had agreed to that happening for us. And within just 10 months after marrying, we found out the opportunity that led to the adoption of Ty. And after we were successful in adopting Ty, well, I guess people thought I knew what I was doing. And I started being consulted more and more for adoptions. And we just don't have that many attorneys that are practicing in a true adoption practice. So, that had me standing out in this area and across North Alabama, and it just grew from there. And
is that specific to here, or is that a common trend throughout the country? Do you know?
It's a common trend throughout the country. I did never rise to the level of becoming a member of the American Academy of Adoption Attorneys. You've got to handle a certain number of state-to-state adoptions to do that. But if you check their roster, there's just not many in each state.
Wow.
You find 3 to 5 in Tennessee. I believe we just have 3 here in Alabama. And I'm a big proponent of recruiting more attorneys to get involved into the practice.
Yeah, we definitely have a need here. That's for sure. I feel like we have a very supportive adoptive community here, especially in the Decatur area. I don't know if that's a common thread that you see throughout the state. And maybe it's just because I was so immersed in that group and that community that I saw it more often than what other people do. But what do you think? Do you feel like we have more people that are stepping forward in adoption, or are we still, I know, when it comes to numbers in foster care, we're way behind, but
you are seeing a few more. Before I left the general practice of law at the 1st of May, there wasn't a week that didn't go by that I wasn't talking to somebody in the office setting, around the community, in churches, different organizations about adoption and the process. And so continuing that conversation, I tell you, you would tell others about it. And that was increasing the interest that singles and families were having in adoption. And that's made it a little bit more prevalent here than in other areas of the state where it's not talked about as much. The possibilities are there. We just need to, others need to show folks how it can be achieved.
Right. So listen, were you in an adoption attorney when you adopted Ty, or... So had you started in them?
I had. I was primarily handling grandparent, close family adoptions. At that point, step parent, grandparent adoptions. Have been appointed guardian ad litem as guardian ad litem to represent a child, minor child, in adoption situations. So I had just dangled my feet in it, my toe in it. At that point in time, was not at the level that I am now.
Yeah. So. The adoption journey, whether it is a private adoption or adoption through foster care, comes with a roller coaster of emotions. Ups and downs and twists and turns. Were there any unexpected emotional challenges for either of your adoptions?
There were. When the opportunity, we found out about the opportunity to adopt through this agency out of Florida. My wife and I were at church in end of service, January 30th, 2005. The pastor's wife mentions about the opportunity to adopt, and it's the end of church. I'm thinking about lunch.
Yeah, right.
And I turn around, my wife's gone. She's made a beeline for the stage. We find out how to submit information for being considered for adoption. Was selected by a birth mother that very next week.
Oh my goodness.
Without having a nursery, a diaper, anything. But we started that. Baby was born end of February, but that birth mother changed her mind. The baby was born in Florida. In Florida, you have 2 days to withdraw consent, and that mother withdrew her consent. I had left Jacksonville, Florida, coming back to North Alabama. I had to then turn around and drive right back. And But then we met Ty's birth mother the very next day, and then he was born on March 30th. So all of that happened in a 2-month time period. The first attempted placement was just very stressful of a placement.
Yeah.
Had a great adoption agency director that we were working with, and she was disappointed in the first one falling through. But that really helped to be a benchmark for the service that I could bring to adoptive parents, is having walked through one falling through.
Right.
A change of birth mother's heart, and seeing that. And so that's something that I wouldn't forget, and I could bring to adoptive parents and those looking to foster them to adopt, is that a withdrawal of consent could occur, and I could talk it through since I had been through that. So that was interesting situation. Ty's birth mother was 16, 17 when she gave birth, and didn't know at that particular time in the 2000s what any interaction between birth mother, birth family, and adopted child. So with Ty, really helped me to learn walking through that, and to tell adoptive parents what to expect. And it's been a continuing education along the way. As the children have aged, have adoptive children, teenagers, you combine all of that. It was some information that I could pass along to others at the same time of walking and trying to figure it out. Even though my wife was in the delivery room with Ty, has been with him since day one, you still have some attachment issues that can come up. And so we were prepared to share that with others, and that was another bit of information that I could share with adoptive parents, is be ready for attachment issues that could come about, and then different health issues. My daughter, her birth mother smoked quite a bit during pregnancy, so she was at the dentist today. And she's had quite a bit of dental work. Enamel just hadn't formed, and so you don't always know the health concerns, the health challenges that a child in utero might have experienced. And you hope to find out that information from a birth mother, birth family, but you can't always find that out. And so walking that through with gently has helped me to sort of present the big picture.
The what ifs.
That's right.
And the unknowns.
What ifs that could come about. And I have not really begged, but explained to birth mothers, birth families about the importance of sharing information, so that there's not as many surprises that they have to walk through. But when you're truly looking at the best interest of the child, looking at the best interest of giving that child everything that they can possibly have, sharing any kind of information that you can with the adopted family or families, it's really helps the child out to know what to experience.
I don't know how many times we've been in the doctor's office with our girls or other children that we had throughout our home, and they're asking all these questions, and you're like, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. It would be great to know if there was an underlying heart condition or just basic things that you don't have a clue about. Thankfully, we do have some of that history for our kids, but I know there are so many out there that have absolutely none, and so being able to prepare them for those what ifs, and that is so hard. You go in the doctor and you turn your thing in, you're like, I don't know any of this, and they're like, oh, okay. And so
there is a doctor here in Decatur who's got at the bottom of the sheet, the numerous sheets you fill out, child was adopted, doesn't know the information. So I appreciate them having that box to check. They all can do that.
I feel like even especially in the school systems, if that was something that we could get, this child is this, because, and I know that, just like in healthcare, one record might not get to the next person every time. Like, they're not all getting the same information, but if there was any way that we could share, this child is adoptive, please don't send home family tree things. I mean, we do our own family tree, which, because they are our family, but then that brings up questions of, well, did I have a grandmother? Did I used to have another? Do I have another grandmother? Do I have this? Do I have that?
That's right.
And so for families that are not necessarily as open about the child's adoption journey, it makes for a very, very difficult conversation.
It does. It sure can.
So you were kind of talking about advocating for the children and what you share with adoptive parents, but how do you walk that fine line if you're representing like a birth mother and the family? How do you advocate for the best interest like of the child, but honoring the birth family and the adoptive family at the same time? That's got to be difficult.
It's difficult both on the practical side, the what I call the ministry side, and then on the legal side too. As a attorney, you've got to represent one or the other.
Right.
So on the legal side, there's got to be some disclosure. There's got to be some agreement to who you want to represent. I was primarily representing adoptive parents in placements, but there were some times that I was strictly brought in to represent birth mother, look out for her best interest. So there's got to be that delineation. But I've looked at adoption throughout as looking out for the best interest of everybody involved. But I was quick to tell both the birth mother and the birth parents it really wasn't about me, Doug Bachuss. It wasn't about adopting parents, the natural mother. It's about that child.
Right.
We're looking out for the best interest of the child. That's the standard, the legal standard for adoption under Alabama law. So with that being the standard, the birth mother, and I'd say sometimes, I'm sorry, you still have to give birth. I can't take that away from you.
Right.
Natural or adopting family, maybe pins and needles to get past certain time frames. But it's all part of the process of looking out for the child. And I have told everybody involved, I can't really describe to you with a private placement or foster situation when you're at the hospital. That can be you can be on pins and needles. It can be the very difficult situation to know exactly what to do.
Yes.
But you just have to make it past that couple of days that are there, and then you have a little bit more direction of what to do. I like to visit with births and answer questions for the hospital staff, for the adopting family and the natural family, and try to find ways that they can connect and make sure they had all the same information so they felt better about what was happening.
Yeah, that's a tough situation. Okay, so you and I talk about this often, and I have a lot of opinions on this, but I'm going to ask you, what legal changes or reform do you think would best support ethical, child-centered, best interest kind of placement and adoptions?
Yeah, there are probably some measures that can be taken on the short term and the long term. We've had this conversation for, I guess, since the time I've been practicing. Particularly in the fostering area, foster to adopt, that there be more resources, but some more consideration of the time frame that goes into achieving permanency.
Right.
Again, focuses on the child. Child doesn't have 1.5 years, 3 years, 5 years for attachment. So trying to make sure that we have time periods that are achievable and the resources being provided. And if tweaks are needed, the Juvenile Justice Act particularly, I'm strongly in favor of that. We've had some legal changes in the last so many years so that you can have adoptions pending at the same time you have juvenile measures, juvenile proceedings that are going on, but recognition, particularly across the state, that up until the time parental rights are terminated, that adoption can be pursued. You can have that veer out of juvenile proceedings and pursue adoption. To me, it's in the best interest of the state to allow that.
Right.
saves money
Right.
for the state, and just brings about permanency and sooner than later. There is a new Alabama adoption code that took effect January 1st of 2024, was passed by the legislature in 2023. There's some tweaks that'll be forthcoming on it. But when we talk about adoption, we focus mainly on youth, but then sometimes adults are adopted.
Yeah, right.
And, we need to be expanding the considerations of those. From time to time, there's some thought, okay, these are arrangements just meant with some fraud or
Right.
insurance coverage and whatnot. But when you have attorneys like we have in our area and some in the Birmingham area that are really investigating the situation, making those happen sooner and giving the possibility of happening sure's with a second look.
Right. So this is a question that people ask me all the time, and I don't know that I actually know the answer to give them. So you have a birth mom. She has multiple children that have all gone through the foster care system that she does not have custody of any of them, let's say 5+. Is there any sort of law in Alabama that states once X amount of children have been removed or terminated from that parent, that the remainder of the children, should she continue to have, will also be terminated?
Sure. Under the Juvenile Justice Act and the juvenile proceedings, if you have one child who parental rights were terminated for that child, then any additional children can be taken.
Right.
By DHR. 1 through 10, how many ever.
Yeah,
Once
right.
that first one is terminated, then DHR can step in and take any additional children.
Right. But I guess the question is that going to happen regardless of? So let's say this parent has 6 children and then 7 and immediately 8 is born. Is that an automatic termination, or do they still get the opportunity to go through all the motions of reunification?
They do not have to be given the steps for reunification. I've had some situations in which parental rights were terminated for a parent, and DHR says, okay, you give birth to second, third, fourth, you're going to lose that child. But I've been able to facilitate adoption placements so that the birth mother, particularly, very rare birth father, the birth mother was able to arrange in a private placement adoption, so DHR didn't have to be involved. Now, I can't say that there haven't been situations that DHR may have felt like there was some rehabilitation of the parent and tried to make it go.
Right.
I can't say that hadn't happened. More than likely, it has.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure. Have you ever had a case that literally changed the way that you thought about family reunification or parental rights?
I have. I tell folks I'm not here to take away anybody's child.
No. Right.
If you're doing the things that you're supposed to do, if you're being a mommy and daddy, not just a mother, not just a father, but if you're being mommy and daddy, then I'm not here to take your child. But that child needs support. That child needs all the resources to be successful and to develop. So that's what my primary focus was. And I have seen, had the opportunity to see attempts at reunification fail numerous times. The long-standing policy of the Department of Human Resources and the juvenile courts is to focus on rehabilitation and reunification. But I saw the numbers of success just decreasing. Had this conversation shortly after the Dobbs the Dobbs decision came down. The United States Supreme Court decided on the Dobbs decision against abortion, but that led to trying to have adoption set in place, have more adoption resources set in place, and had a conversation with DHR attorneys. What do you think is the percentage of rehabilitations and successful reunifications? And I said, well, you maybe 50-50. I was like, no, I really think you're looking at a lesser percentage than that. And so just, Doug Bachuss's guessing and exposure to it really placed it more like a 30%. And a lot of that 30% was really relative resources coming in.
Right.
Grandparents, aunts and uncle, great aunts and uncle, siblings coming in and providing that support to parents.
I feel like we're kind of seeing less and less of that, though. Do you feel like the family unit, and I don't mean mom, dad, brothers and sisters, I mean like the family unit as a whole, when you look at extended family members, are less likely to step in now? Or is that just something that I'm jaded on?
I really do think you do, with so many children becoming available or need for relative resources to support. Grandparents, great aunts and uncles might can support one or two.
Yeah.
But it gets to be 3 and 4. They
5
just
and 6.
can't do it.
Yeah.
I facilitated and was able to assist grandparents as old as into their late 70s.
Yeah.
With adopting, they're having to reparent, 70 some old person, take care of a 6-year-old, take care
that's
of a
tough.
5-year-old. It's very difficult to do it. So you just have to look at a case-by-case basis. But they're just not able to take, particularly if a mother is starting at a younger age to have children and continues to have those children.
Right.
There's only so many family available. And we just don't have, with having a more transient population, with family maybe being in other states, there's just not the resources that you have. Drug culture is so pervasive. I mean, to me, you had less drugs as a possibility. You've got more drugs being pursued now, and it could be many family members that are not able to.
Right, and you think about too, when it comes to crossing state lines, specifically when you're dealing with DHR, that really throws a kink into things when you have to try and get those families vetted to take a child that could be in care.
Absolutely. Sure do.
So we always talk about a burnt toast moment, and I shared with you that. Can you share, do you have a burnt toast when there was a moment in either law practice or your journey to a job? Today, my voice and tongue is not working, apparently. But yeah, somehow it turned out to be good.
As I explain the adoption process to folks, it's ministry, and you're going to have challenges on the spiritual side that affected me as well as it did adoptive parents. And I always kidded that Satan's favorite area to be involved in was usually water. Your water heater would go out. I had a foster parent looking to adopt, or transmission went out on a relatively new car. It was like, okay, why are these kind of challenges that are happening? And then you would see different parts of the process would maybe be making some decisions that I wasn't in agreement with or supportive of. But, really look to my faith to help and, continue to pray for paths, directions to come open. And I knew that the parties that we have in this area, judges, court staff, attorneys, look more and more looking out for the best interest of the child. And so while there could be some curves and there could be some obstacles that if most of the time it was going to happen. I had tried to vet most adoption placements at the beginning. I wasn't going to just file every adoption.
Right, yeah.
Folks wanting to come in, I wanted to make sure they were in it. Adoptive parents were in it for the right reasons, to know their heart and their passion. It wasn't just the cool thing to do. But I knew from my 28 years of practicing in that area that, okay, if we had an adverse ruling or some type of conflict between juvenile proceedings and adoption, that there was the legal action to pursue in order to help make sure we were looking for the best interest of the child. It seems like there's an increase in the number of appeals of adoption cases, particularly since the adoption statutes have changed last year. And it looks like some of the juvenile proceedings are taking longer and longer. But that, I'm just sort of identifying that as the new normal, but just confident in that if we were meeting the statutory requirements for adoption and the adoptive parents were in it for the right reason, truly loving on a child, then it was eventually going to happen. I mean, I had births come up days early. We had challenges from sometimes consents were given and they tried to withdraw consents, but had the resources to be able to meet those challenges and make for a successful adoption. I had some consents that were withdrawn. A few birth fathers to come out who didn't know that there were birth fathers in the pictures.
Surprise!
They disclosed those, and some of those did not successful in going through. But in those, I really appreciated the prospective adoptive parents serving as temporary foster parents. They provided support for children when there may not have been that support otherwise. So.
There's always definitely beauty in the brokenness of adoption. People, we talked about this on our last podcast. People don't realize, they're like, oh my goodness, you're so blessed, you're so lucky, they're so lucky, you're so all the things. And while, yes, we all absolutely feel that way, there's a broken part of it on the other side of things that people don't always see that comes from the birth family. So how does your faith influence you on how you approach these different situations?
Well, it's fully interwoven. I didn't file an adoption, was involved in foster care without praying it out and talking the spiritual aspects to adoptive parents. Right. I was not going to excuse spiritual considerations and have faith out of the process. It's just what you got when I was involved. And we were all adopted into the kingdom by Jesus dying on the cross, making that sacrifice for us. So we were all adopted. We were all offered that opportunity to be adopted. And so we're just replicating that here, what we were blessed with so many years ago. Yes. So I'm glad to have been a part of that ministry. To me, Jesus' favorite ministry has always been taking care of kids. So it's good enough for him. It's good enough for me.
Yeah, me too. That's what I said on the last one. I'm like, we're just living out a purpose that was set forth as a perfect example before us. Okay. Do you have a favorite scripture or anything?
James 1:27 is take care of widows and orphans in their distress. Yes. And so, that stayed written at my office across the street here. And, it's what I always go back to. And, and that brought consideration to both the children and to the birth mother. Right. Because I had, birth mothers that would ask me, oh, am I doing the right thing? It's like, you may not have made a whole bunch of other great decisions in your lifetime. Right. But this is one of the best that you could ever make, that you were unselfishly looking out for the best interest of that child.
In that, how would you encourage someone that might be in the situation now where they're trying to decide whether it is best for them to attempt to parent or to give their child up for adoption?
To talk to social workers, to talk to some of the counselors that we've got. And, I really wish there was more of a resource of natural families who've placed that they might could go on, but talking to some of the attorneys that we've got as well.
Yeah. Right.
And being able to talk that through with them. It's something you really want to, I think, talk about ahead of time.
I think so too. Yeah.
When children are born, they need that attachment
Immediately.
Immediately. And if they don't get it, the things that it can lead to down the road are it's unknown.
They're really hard.
It can be.
It's really hard. If you find yourself in that position, there will be some links in the comments where you can find help and reach out. Any of us that you see on the podcast that we've spoke about are glad to talk to you about your options and how that looks. I just want to thank you so much for all the work that you have done, for the work that you've done in my life. Doug was our adoption attorney for our babies and held a special place in our heart. Let me tell you, adoption can definitely feel overwhelming. But please don't let that stop you. Whether you're a birth mom or somebody out there who is struggling with whether or not you should adopt, please don't let that stop you. With the right support, it's a path that's filled with purpose, love, and the making of a forever family. The process may be complex, but the outcome is truly beautiful. And that, my friend, is the beauty in burnt toast.
That's right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate you being here.